Hello, everybody. It is November 5th, and I am Walter Von Hune.
And I'm Mike Clayson.
And what we're going to do is talk today and for about another half hour about a subject that we've been thinking about. First of all, today is November 5th, like I said, and it's election day here in the country and in all kinds of districts all over the country. So, one thing that I was thinking about is if somebody wins, they claim success.
Sure.
But if somebody loses, do they feel they failed or do they feel we tried? That's the difference.
Huh. I guess it kind of depends on your mindset. I mean, if you're an optimist, it's we tried. If you're a pessimist, we failed, I guess.
Right. So in the national election, let's say somebody gets 80 million votes, somebody else gets 81 million votes. So the person who loses at 80 million, that 80 million people voted for them and they lost,
Yeah.
that's not really a failure.
Well,
That's that many people wanted these people. But, again, success and failure are two different things. And so that's not looking at failure. And I know you've had a lot of experiences in your life where you told me before that you failed.
yeah. I've told my kids over the years that almost everything I've ever tried, I failed at. It's only a few things that have worked out. Luckily, they were good things and they were pretty big things, but I have had far more failures than I have had successes.
Uh-huh.
The trick is to just kind of not take it too personally and move on.
Yeah. So when you failed, did you say, I'm never going to try this again? Or did you say, oh, you know what? I learned something from this and I'm going to go on and do something else? Or,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I guess one of the good things that I learned from all that process was to be able to take constructive criticism
Mhm.
without taking it personally,
Right.
and I actually welcome it.
Yeah.
If someone's got a different idea or a different way of looking at something or a suggestion about how to do something better than I thought
Right.
of, I'll take it in a second.
Right. Oh,
My
absolutely.
ego is not any part of that.
Right. I think everybody has failed. I think everybody who is watching has had a quote failure in your life, and how you deal with that failure and you turn it around. I mean, all of the huge successful people in the world failed first. Thomas Edison, he failed.
Yeah.
Myself, I'm not comparing myself to Thomas Edison. That'll never work.
Yeah.
But when I got in the entertainment industry, I tried desperately to be an actor. I took acting classes, and I got myself an agent, and I went out for parts and everything. I really failed because I realized I wasn't that good, even though I've done all these different parts in movies and television. I realized I wasn't a good actor, right? And then when I got behind the camera, I found, oh, this is where I belong. This is where I feel comfortable, where I can judge acting, so to speak. And, so I failed as an actor, but it didn't stop me from pursuing other things.
Well, how did you? I mean, when you said you failed as an actor, how did you define failure there?
I didn't get parts.
Okay.
I didn't get parts. And even in the acting class, I realized, I wasn't that good.
When you say good, you mean you just weren't able to
I wasn't.
assume the character and
It was more than assuming a character. We're talking about a whole different thing there. It was more of putting the attention on me. How am I standing? Am I looking okay? Where's the camera, et cetera, et cetera, instead of being in the moment and communicating and listening. Listening was the key,
okay.
and reacting to what the other person is saying and not preconceiving that notion of how I should react to the line.
Okay. Because it's interesting because what I'm hearing you saying in this instance is an example you gave of not being a good actor, but being a good director, for
Hmm.
instance, is that most people, when they fail, they try and change something about themselves. But what you seem to be saying is, well, when I failed, I just changed the circumstances and just went ahead Walter,
Well,
pull Walter.
I realized I wasn't going to be Tom Hanks, or I
Right.
wasn't going to be, Robert De Niro, or anyone that good.
Yeah.
I realized I could do parts and things, but it wasn't going to be a successful career, and that I didn't have the confidence in myself at all. But behind the camera, as a director, I knew I was good, and I knew I could do things.
So
And
you just
so,
kept the same skill sets, didn't change anything, just
yeah,
changed the.
I learned the skill sets
Okay.
of being a director,
Okay.
and
So that you didn't have before.
I didn't have that before.
Okay.
I didn't have that, but I felt comfortable with that. So going back to what we're talking about today, success or failure, I mean, success and failure to me isn't really what we do with our careers or what we've accomplished. It's more of who we are and what we've taught our kids, and to teach our kids, or ourselves for that matter, that you don't fail, you will succeed in life, which is
Yeah.
a whole different thing.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's funny how this issue comes up because, like a friend of mine had um, a little motor scooter,
Uh-huh.
and he made a mistake with it, and he crashed it,
Uh-huh. Okay.
and he wanted to get it into the shop and get it fixed up before his son could see what happened,
Okay.
because he was afraid that
Mhm.
he didn't want to be embarrassed in front of his son having crashed this little motorcycle.
Right.
And I talked to him about it. I said, look, it's not about the crash. Everyone crashes. It's
Mhm.
how resilient you are and how you recover from it.
Right.
And success is you survived that crash and you had enough resources to take it down and get it fixed and make it brand new again.
Mhm.
So to me, that's a success story.
Right.
Even though there's a crash in it, it's still
It's,
successful.
it's still a success
Yeah.
story, and uh, I played baseball through
Uh-huh.
college, and you would go out there some days, and I was a pitcher, and I went out there some days, and I would quote succeed. I was really good. Other days, and it's so weird because you go out there one day and everything works, everything is in sync. The motion is correct, the arm angle is correct, everything is correct. You go out the next day and your whole mechanics are off, and you can't, everything is, it's weird, and you fail.
Mhm.
I failed, as a pitcher, and we lost the game.
Was that
And so
like a state of mind you think was different?
it's not a state of mind. I think that's a whole kinetic thing, I think, that we go through with chemicals in our body or whatever. And I think somehow things change all the time within us. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is I failed, but it didn't get me down. I didn't say, "Oh, I can't do this anymore." So I said, "Oh, I've had a bad day. I'm going to succeed and go on." And so you do that with whatever, grades in school.
Sure.
You get a C minus in a class, and you're going, "Oh God, my parents wanted me to get A's and B's, and I got a C minus. Did I fail at that?" Well, no, but maybe you learned something about yourself, and during that time, that maybe chemistry isn't for you.
Yeah.
you know,
Organic chemistry.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe. To me, I mean, it boils down to how you define success. What is success? I mean, some people define it as being um, successful monetarily.
mm-hmm.
Others think about it in terms of their relationships. Other people think about it in terms of living an authentic life. Whatever that means.
Yeah,
Um, because we're all you and I and everyone we've ever known is all destined for the same fate, and that's
Yeah.
a dirt nap, long dirt
Yeah.
nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, everything gets kind of equalized out in the end.
Right.
And the question is, what is it that makes one person more successful than the other? I mean, would you say like Jeff Bezos is successful? Would you say Bill Gates is successful?
Well, would you say Steve Jobs was successful with Apple? You know what though? He
I mean,
before
none of them have any family. I mean, none of them are married. They're all
no,
single. It's just,
before Steve Jobs died,
yeah,
he wrote a whole thing about, and you think, oh, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, billionaires, they have all this money, they got to be happy. I don't think that's, people have said money does not buy you happiness. Money can make you comfortable,
hmm
but it doesn't buy you happiness. Happiness is an internal thing, at least to me it is, where, are you happy with your life? Are you happy with what you've accomplished? Are you happy with what you're giving and doing things like that, which is successful in your life then? So that's, do you measure success or failure? Are there people out there who are going, oh, I'm a failure because I didn't do this and now I'm drinking too much, or can they turn that around and say, I'm going to be a success and not do this anymore and correct my own internal clock, so to speak, and say, I'm going to change things?
I got to say, having known some pretty successful people
Yeah.
and also some abject failures, that most people don't seem to have enough self-awareness to do that. I mean, you do, clearly. I think I do. I hope I do.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there that when something goes wrong, the last person they think to blame is themselves. It's
Yeah.
always some other issue. I mean, in fact, that's what this whole society is becoming about is who are the victims, who are the oppressors,
Yeah.
the oppressed and the oppressors, and when something
Right.
goes wrong or you can't achieve something, and you're in an identity group that's an oppressed group, well, that explains it all. I mean, it's not my fault.
But that's
It's
exactly
it's
it.
it's my identity that caused the problem because I'm an oppressed identity, and therefore I never stood a chance.
But
It was a rigged system.
it's more than that, though. It's not my fault. It's your fault that I failed.
Yes, not my fault. It's you as an oppressor. It's your fault, right?
Right. And that,
So even though I should be blaming myself because it was all me, I'm blaming someone else who had
mhm.
nothing to do with it just because of their identity.
Does that ease their own mindset of saying, hey, this wasn't me who, quote, failed. This was somebody else or the
It
situation,
was the system.
the system,
Yeah.
or whatever it was that failed me. Therefore, I could have done it. I could have succeeded. Instead of truly looking at yourself, the one of the greatest things to me is, you know, if somebody who says, and something goes wrong or something goes wrong, and instead of saying, well, the bottle was broken and it's not my fault, instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, I did it, I hit it on the table too hard, yeah, I did it, my mistake.
Mhm.
And you know what, I think people really identify with that more, and they appreciate somebody who, instead of lying about something, lives up to what if they make a mistake. Because we all make the mistakes.
Yeah. And we've talked about that before about lying
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. Yeah, I agree with that. So then if you're one of these people that won't take responsibility for your failures,
hmm
how come you get to take responsibility for your success? In other words, if you feel other people are causing you to fail,
hmm
how can you then not say, well, other people are causing me to succeed? Because I've never heard that. I've never heard that side of
No,
the argument.
I've never heard that.
But that's
because
logically
that then is
consistent.
the self ego of saying, I can't fail.
you failed me, I succeeded me.
Yeah.
I'm the
Well,
one that
right.
behind my success,
Right. Exactly.
and you're the one behind my failure.
No, exactly. And I think, you look at life as life goes on, from when we are kids, to when we're teenagers, to when we're young adults, to when we're older, like we are now. And I think the older you get, the more understanding you have about success and failure, and what is the true meaning of it for you. If I feel right now I'm retired, I feel successful in my retirement. Sure, there's things I would want, there's places I want to go, there's things I have done that I'm saying, oh, I screwed that up. But
Well,
you know what? It's okay. It's just okay
yeah.
to do that and to say that.
Well, I mean, how would you define your success? How would you define success for yourself at this point?
I would define my success probably, um, having lived a good life, an honest life, so to speak. Yeah, I've done some things that we won't be talking about
It
here,
involves
but
the
yes,
statute of limitations.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Don't let me near an elementary school. No, I'm kidding. Okay,
Is he?
but I judge myself by saying, okay, I've done okay. I'm not a great success. I don't have millions and millions of dollars, and that's not a success
That's just
by saying that. But just by saying I'm comfortable with my life and what I've done. It's not like I'm going, oh gosh, I've been such a failure. What could I have done? Oh no. So what about you?
when I was young, I would definitely describe success. Achieving success would be all about money. Okay,
Hmm?
and then it was just money because I
Yeah.
never had any money and I wanted money. And to me, the more money you had, the more
Uh,
successful you were.
okay.
But as I got a little older, then I realized that more important than money was respect. And so, if you gain respect from people,
Hmm.
then that was a really good way of signifying success. People respected you, respected who you were, respected your opinions.
Right.
Wanted you on their side, wanted you on their team. That was a tremendous ego booster, and to me, that was the definition of success. Now, I'm much more inward looking. I mean, to me, ultimate success is number one, maintaining the lifestyle I have right now. Just
Hmm.
that if I got the resources to keep that going,
Right.
and number two, and that includes most importantly, staying in a good relationship with my wife. It's really
Yes.
important,
Absolutely.
and with my children,
Uh-huh.
and developing important, meaningful friendships,
Hmm.
and maintaining my health as much as I can, living as long as I can, and then dying without pain. I mean, that to me, that's my ultimate success at this point.
I think those are admirable things to be called success. And I agree with you 100%. I think all of those things, I think we all want to be comfortable. We all want to have enough capital money to live on and not worry about, oh, the electricity bill. But there are many, many people who live like that day in and day out.
Sure.
So their idea of success is, hey, this month I was able to survive. Now I got to worry about next month. That's a success. But if they can't do the next month, then, oh my gosh, I failed. And what does my wife think now because I couldn't do it? And, unfortunately, we have so many homeless people who, you know, do they ever feel success? I don't know. I've never been homeless. I've always been comfortable. And, it's just, I feel, you know, in failure, you can pick yourself up from any loss, from any situation, and come to success, both externally and internally. That's my opinion.
So do you have like a check sheet or something that you
No,
can go down about how
never.
to evaluate whether you're
Not at all.
successful?
No, I don't know.
So is
I
it,
don't do anything like that.
well, I don't
But
mean physical, but I mean metaphysically,
no,
mentally,
no.
no?
Do you?
Kinda, kinda. I mean, you talked about living an honest life, and
Yeah.
I try and do that too. So I check things. I check my my standards, my desire to live an authentic, honest life
Right.
with things that happen to me or that I'm causing to happen to me. And if they're not, if they don't qualify as bringing meaning to me
Hmm.
or keeping me honest, then I discard them. So I'm always on the lookout for bad decisions, especially as I get older, and it's easier to make bad decisions.
But what does that have to do with your success or failure if you make
Well,
bad decisions?
well, I think depending on what the decision is, you can encounter a lot of failure.
Well, yeah, yeah. I run through a red light. I mean, it
Yeah,
might hit
yeah,
some failure there.
yeah. I mean, so I'm on the look. I'm always on the lookout for um, situations that I might be accidentally walking into, or
Hmm.
where I've gotten talked into something. And it could be something stupid like somebody recommending an investment in a company, or something
Right,
like that I didn't thoroughly check out, or some friend of mine wanting to borrow money or something like
right,
that.
right.
I mean, those things can work out, uh, and I certainly would want to help my friends, but at the same time, you can, if you start to feel like you're gullible, or if you're uh, being taken advantage of, then that's a terrible feeling.
Absolutely. But that goes to something else entirely, and that's your gut instinct.
Yeah,
There are so many times that you have a gut instinct about something and you go against your gut instinct and it comes back to bite you. And, I truly believe your gut instinct, is really, really valuable to you. That you can say, even though this doesn't feel right, something's off, I'm not going to do this.
mhm.
Well, and it doesn't have to do with money, or it could be anything. You could be in a situation with another couple that you've gotten to know, and you go over their house, and you're just not comfortable in that situation, and you're going, this. And so instead of saying, "Well, I'm going to keep developing this," to me, I'm going, "There's something off here. I'm not too happy about it." So,
Yeah, yeah,
so I think success and or failure, as some people think, is really failure is not there. It is you might fail at something, but you can succeed again, and I believe you can move on from whatever failure that is. When
yeah.
our house burned, we had a house fire that burned down in Santa Rosa when we lived in California in 2017. We lost everything we owned that we had there in the house. And I had a lot of memorabilia and things gone, disappointed. That's a failure of losing everything. But I realized at that time that those were all material things. And, we're both, retired and older, and you can't take that stuff with you.
Yeah. I having grown up in Los Angeles like you,
Yeah.
uh, certainly the people that I was around most of the time, they signified their success in external ways.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, if you're a guy, your car,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
your shoes, your clothes, your watch was really important. Your haircut,
Yeah.
where you went to eat in restaurants, which
Mm-hmm.
restaurants you frequented, and if the guy in the restaurant knew who you were,
Yeah.
that was a real bonus. Um, and the size, your house, where it was located, how
Right.
big it
Right.
was. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been in these these contests with other guys about, we're all trying to measure each other, trying to figure out where we stand in this hierarchy. We're like a bunch of dogs circling around each other, trying to figure out who the top dog is,
Right.
and we're all
Oh, our time's up, and his watch is going off. No, I'm kidding.
no, we're all circling around trying to figure out, um, who's top dog, and not that it means anything because no one's going to follow whoever's the richest, most famous, or most successful guy. It's just a thing that guys do. That's what makes this living here so interesting. Is in this community, there's this huge leveling effect that happens
Yeah. Yeah.
where it doesn't matter what you used to do. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are, because there's a very limited way to express your wealth in this
Mm-hmm.
community. Very, very limited. I mean, no one cares about cars up here, as far as I can tell,
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest. And no one cares about clothes. No one cares about the watch you're wearing. No one cares about shoes unless they're warm and waterproof.
Right.
And so you have a very limited way to you can't expand the size of your house. You can't put a second story on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even take care of it because someone comes out and takes care of the front yard for you. So there's a limit to what you can do, and then when people start to realize that these typical kinds of signifiers don't work here, they start looking around for other things to try and establish themselves. Or
Like what?
well, that's a good question. I mean, the easiest thing would be to get involved in local politics. Go to various civic organizations. Some
Right.
people take them very seriously around here. Get on certain committees where you get a little power.
Right.
But it's hard. It's hard to to identify. Let people know that you're feeling pretty successful. I mean, you can't tell. You just can't tell around here.
Well, there in our community, there are many former successful professional
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, everyone's pretty level now with
Yeah.
where we live and stuff. And that boils down to, whether you had great success in your career. Now, are we successful as individuals here? And we all, I don't get along with everybody here.
Mhm.
I gotta be honest. There's some people that I don't like, and there's a lot of people that I like, and we get along. And I think that's a measure of success too, is being able to have friends and being able to communicate with people and be honest about things. And so that's my opinion.
So how do you define, like where we live now? How do you define success going forward?
My definition of success going forward, I think success is contentment and happiness within your life and your own being. And I feel that is success enough. Like I said, we want to live comfortably, and we are, but that's not what the success is. We have made so many friends here. When we moved up here to Washington, we didn't know a soul, nobody at all. And I was telling Kimberly, my wife, I was saying, hey, if we can meet one couple that we could maybe have dinner once a month or once every 3 months or something, that will be a success.
Yeah.
There's not enough time for all the people that I want to get together with now. And, it's just been, that to me makes me happy and content. And that gives me a feeling of success.
I think that's right. I agree with that 100%. I guess the last thing I guess I could say is that Um, no one should make the mistake of measuring their own success against other people, because
Absolutely.
that way is a tragedy. Because everyone has, you know, everyone has their own life and their own issues, and just because someone makes a little more money than you or has a better car than you
Hmm.
doesn't make them a better person.
Absolutely. So, with that, we're glad you joined us, and we wish you all great success.
And happy election day.
Happy Election Day. Thanks for watching.